Welcome to CineMovie's movie review roundup for the weekend of November 13. Today we're going to be talking about Freaky, Pixar's new movie, Soul, and a new documentary called Leap of Faith, William Friedkin on The Exorcist. We're also going to be touching upon War with Grandpa, Honest Thief, Come Play, and Let Him Go. They're currently playing in movie theaters. But hitting movie theaters this weekend is Blumhouse's Freaky, starring Vince Vaughn and Katherine Newton from Big Little Lies and Blockers. It's your body-switching movie, and it's been done to death, but this one was a lot of fun, and it's courtesy of the director from Happy Death Day, Christopher B. Landon. So the film starts out as a slasher film, and I was thinking, oh God, it's going to go that way. But then it goes into campy horror movie. It borrows tons from other movies with similar plots, like Freaky Friday, hence the title, Freaky, and even Child's Play with the whole supernatural method of body switching. Vince Vaughn plays a serial killer named the Butcher, and he is seeking some kind of magical mask, and I guess he finds it because when he finds a mask, he switches bodies with a high school teen, a very meek young girl named Millie, played by Newton. Now, Vince Vaughn, when he starts playing the girl, he's a hoot. He's acting like a girl. Sometimes he's not capturing Newton's character's meek personality, but it's a lot of fun to watch. You tend to forget about that.
Will you shut up?
However, Newton is diabolical as a serial killer. You can tell she had a lot of fun playing this role. Now, Freaky doesn't invent the genre, but it still updates it with some relevant jokes.
You're black! I'm gay! We are so dead!
And some rapey jocks get their just desserts. You go, girl. Or boy.
I can't wait to kill you.
Freaky has some issues, but overall it is a lot of fun to watch, especially with a group, masked, hopefully. So it's the perfect film for a drive-in viewing, or if you're brave enough, at a movie theater. So up next is a documentary about The Exorcist called Leap of Faith, William Friedkin on The Exorcist. This one will be out on Shudder November 19 in the US, Canada, UK, Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand. Iconic director William Friedkin, now 85, recounts the making of The Exorcist in this 103-minute documentary. He runs through the process of making the film, including taking cues from the writer of the novel and the script, William Peter Blatty. He admits Blatty pretty much ran the show on the set. Whatever he wanted regarding the story, including the ending, Friedkin obliged. And he tells a really interesting story about one of the last scenes in the movie, which they disagreed upon, but Blatty ended up winning that argument. So it's an interesting story he tells about that. However, the aesthetic of the iconic horror movie was left up to him, the director. So he walks you through most of the movie explaining his choices and influences from other movies, artwork, and certain religions. It's pretty remarkable, his memory, considering this was 47 years ago, but he tells it like as if it were yesterday. Some of the other interesting revelations were in regards to the actors. Mac Van Sydow, Jason Miller, and William O'Malley, who played the priests. There were certain scenes they struggled with, so Friedkin explains how he got them through it, sometimes with tough love. He slapped one of them to get a good performance that he needed. And I think he's told this story before, but it's really interesting that an actor allows that. But I guess all in the name of art, right? What you won't see in the documentary is Friedkin discussing the actresses Ellen Burstyn and Linda Blair. It's a little odd, but the stories are out there already. We know that Ellen Burstyn hurt her back in the harness when they yanked her really hard during the scene when Reagan slaps her and she fell onto some furniture. She talked about that. And also Linda Blair had to endure as a 14-year-old a harness and being thrashed around. So I'm sure that wasn't pleasant. And the prosthetic glue that burned her skin. So they probably either avoided it or those parts that Friedkin talked about probably ended up on the cutting room floor for obvious reasons. If you're a fan of The Exorcist, Leap of Faith is very insightful. And if you're a filmmaker, it's a masterclass in Friedkin's aesthetic and process. Now we get to talk Soul, Disney Pixar's new movie coming to Disney Plus on Christmas Day. It is the first Black lead for a Disney Pixar movie. It's directed by Pete Docter, who did Up and Inside Out, and co-directed and written with powers. He's a black writer and playwright who's making waves right now in Hollywood. So when I watched the trailer, it wasn't that inspiring. I was a little worried that I couldn't, or a lot of people wouldn't be able to relate to a jazz musician, but luckily I can report the film is much more than that. And it's a big surprise. It's very relatable. It talks about having a purpose, which they call a spark. It follows the main character named Joe, voiced by Jamie Foxx, who just booked his first major gig as a pianist, except he's in an accident. So he's not ready to go into the light. So he escapes into the great before, which is a place where souls get their personalities and interest. The title of the movie, Soul, doesn't relate to the music, although it can, but what it really refers to is this great before and this idea that souls are shaped beforehand, before they are born. So I love that idea.
Don't worry, you can't crush a soul here. That's what life on Earth is for.
So in this other world called the Great Before, he meets a shy little soul called 22, who actually doesn't want to go to Earth because she doesn't see a purpose in going to an unknown location. And she is voiced by Tina Fey, and together they set off in an adventure to Earth, trying to find a way back into his body. So thematically, Pixar kills it again. It's a lesson for both adults and kids. It really talks about how, not only about having a purpose in life, but how words matter, whether you're encouraging or discouraging others. And I really love that about the film. Now, animation-wise, New Yorkers will be thrilled to see that their city has really come to life with really great detail. My favorite part was the Great Before. The animation is just simplistic and the character designs are breathtaking. They're best described as doodles. They're not they're not fancy little drawings. They're just very, very simple. And the pastel colors in this world, it just gives a sense of innocence. And it really contrasts with life on Earth. Jamie Foxx does an excellent job as Joe. You can't even tell that is him. His usual personality is nowhere to be seen, so you forget that you're actually listening to Jamie Foxx. So I'm curious to know if they totally changed his tone or he very pulled back, because we know that guy is very passionate and he's just a big personality. But they were able to tone it down and they got a really great performance from him. And Tina Fey, who doesn't love Tina Fey? I think she gives this character a kid-like appeal, and having that contrast with an adult and a kid, I thought was a really great way to showcase the difference between these two characters. So I'm really glad Disney decided to release this on Disney Plus and on Christmas Day. It's a perfect film with a world that's so filled with negativity. I think this film will bring a smile and encouragement to everyone who watches it.
This won't be a disaster, that's for sure.
Okay, now let's talk about movies that are currently playing in movie theaters. And the number one at the box office last weekend was Let Him Go, starring Kevin Costner and Diane Lane. And they are fantastic in this thriller. Although the first half of the movie is really slow paced, but it's okay because you're getting to know this couple and you really like them and you want to follow them. But just, beware when you first start watching the movie. It's called thriller, but yet the thrills don't really start until like the second half when it really gets your heart pumping. Now, Lane and Costner is not the first time they played husband and wife. If you recall, they played Martha and Jonathan Kent from Man of Steel, but you don't really get to see that relationship on screen. They were mostly, a backdrop for Henry Cavill's character of Superman. But here they get to develop a great rapport. They have really great chemistry and really great heart. And what I really loved about the film was that Lane's Margaret is the one that wears the pants in the family. And Costner's George pretty much just follows her along because he loves her and he wants to make her happy. So basically what happens is when their grandson disappears all of a sudden with his mom and her new abusive husband, Margaret wants to go after him and bring him home because she's worried that something might happen because of this guy's violent outburst that she witnessed. And George is not quite, this takes place in the 50s and he's the old school, guy who's like, well, she's married now and, it's really none of our business. And Lane's like, I'm going to go get him. You're coming or not?
You're going with me or without me?
So once they find this abusive husband and his family, the wee boys, you know you're in trouble when they're called the wee boys. They're you get the sense that they're a violent clan, and the clan is led by the matriarch, played by Leslie Manville, and she's absolutely a stand-up performance in this. And she's pretty scary, and she doesn't have any weapons. She's just, the way she comes off, you can tell she's a dangerous person. And when they first meet at their ranch out in the Dakota somewhere, her and Lane's Margaret have this interaction, and Kevin Costner's George is like, whoa, like, put the brakes on, Margaret. But she's not having it. And that's really a great scene between these two women and the men who are trying to like keep it, you know, civil. So it's a great scene to watch, and I think that was one of the best scenes in the movie.
We came to see our grandson.
My boy doesn't have to answer to you.
And we don't have to answer to you.
Whoa.
And then after that, the movie just takes off. You know, your heart is just pumping because there's so much at stake, and these people are very violent, and Margaret is not going to give up. So I highly recommend this movie. And also in the movie is Jeffrey Donovan. He plays the creepy Billy Weeboy. Really good performance from him. And he's in another movie that's currently playing with Liam Neeson called Honest Thief. It also stars Kate Walsh, Jai Courtney, and Anthony Ramos. So if you like your Neeson films, this is pretty much the same thing. It's your typical Neeson film. You know, kick bad guy butt.
Agent Evans, I'm coming for you.
If you're looking for horror movie light, Come Play is one of those movies. An autistic boy who uses smart devices to communicate is now being stalked by a digital monster looking for a friend to drag him into the cloud, I guess. Come Play is creepy, but it's not scary enough for hardcore fans. It's pretty light on the horror. However, it will serve as a PSA to kids. So parents, pay attention. This movie will definitely get your kid off their iPhone or their tablets. Then last up, we have War with Grandpa with Robert De Niro, Christopher Walken, and Cheech Marin, and some kids, but doesn't matter. These three are hilarious together. That's the only reason to watch this movie. Why? Because the kids, you're not on their side. Pretty much, De Niro's grandkid declares war and hit on his grandpa after he moves in and takes his room. The kid and the friends come off like jerks for trying to hurt America's tough guy. These three amigos need their own movie. Okay, that's my recommendations for the week. Come back next week. We're going to be talking about Lego Star Wars Holiday Special and David Bowie documentary called Stardust. And Nicolas Cage has a new movie called Jiu-Jitsu.